Hey guys, welcome back to the Prosta English podcast. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's finally time to record a summer themed episode. I know that my listeners live all over the world, from the USA to Portugal, from the United Arab Emirates to China, and I'm not sure what this winter looked like in your country, but in Poland, it was extremely harsh. It was freezing cold, around minus 20 degrees for a couple of weeks in a row, with mountains of snow everywhere. Apparently, people could even go ice skating on the river in the old town of Gdańsk because it had completely frozen over. Can you imagine the last time that happened 18 years ago? So, this winter will definitely stay in my memory for a long time. But now, when I'm recording this episode, it's already the end of May and it's still pretty chilly in Gdańsk. And honestly, I'm already so tired of the cold weather. I'm desperately waiting for proper summer to begin, and I hope that by discussing today's topic, we can somehow attract sunshine, warm evenings, and comfortable weather for at least the next 4 months. I decided to dedicate this episode to adventures because summer is absolutely the best season for them. The days get longer. You don't need to overthink like what to wear. We can just throw on slippers, random shorts, and leave the house in 2 minutes. Nature comes alive. Everything looks stunning, and we simply feel more motivated to get out and enjoy life. But the good news is that we don't actually need to wait for a vacation, apply for a visa, or travel abroad to experience adventures. We don't even need a lot of money or complicated preparation. We can organize little micro adventures ourselves close to where we live. That's why in today's episode, I decided to collect a list of exciting outdoor activities that can make our summer memorable. So let's get started. Some time ago, one of my students, whose name is Veronica, told me that in Warsaw, they sometimes organize rollerblading nights. It's when huge groups of people get together and rollerblade through the main streets of the city. And the coolest and most romantic part is that it all happens at night. The moment I heard about it, I immediately decided that next time I absolutely have to join. And I really hope Veronica and I can go together this summer. Actually, I have a funny story connected to rollerblading. So, a few years ago, I suddenly got obsessed with the idea of buying rollerblades. I was inspired by girls skating along the seaside. It looked so joyful and honestly way more fun than jogging, for example. But instead of directly asking Paul to buy rollerblades for me, I decided to be smart. I bought a pair for him for his birthday. And obviously, it would have been weird for him to rollerblade alone, so he had to buy a pair for me too. My master plan was simple. We would spend quality time together and do sports at the same time. Basically, kill two birds with one stone. But somehow, our rollerblades ended up collecting dust on the top shelf of our wardrobe. We can count on one hand how many times we've actually used them. I don't know, for some reason, whenever we go to the seaside, we always choose bicycles instead. It just feels more convenient. The main issue with rollerblades is logistics. If you skate far away and then suddenly want to take a break or grab a coffee somewhere, things get a bit complicated. You need to take them off, and that means you also need to carry a pair of sneakers in your backpack. And then you end up walking around holding your rollerblades in your hands. Or you need to carry a pretty big backpack where you can actually fit them because rollerblades are quite bulky and take up a lot of space. So a regular backpack doesn't really work. But with a bicycle, everything is much simpler. Whenever you want to stop, you just lock it and go wherever you need. But anyway, I still hope that this summer we will finally figure it out because rollerblading genuinely gives me this amazing feeling of freedom and positive energy. The second thing I would definitely like to add to my summer bucket list of adventures is attending a music festival. In general, I prefer Russian and Belarusian music. From time to time, I listen to international artists too, but they make up only about 20 or even 10% of my playlist. So, living in Europe, I couldn't really enjoy most music festivals. I mean, of course, I could attend them, but it just wouldn't be as fun for me. But last summer, for the first time in my adult immigrant life, I attended an open air festival in Warsaw with Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian bands and singers. And honestly, it was such a blast. Some of the artists performing there were singers I used to listen to back in middle school. And the best part was that I went there with my best friend from school. So we were singing at the top of our lungs and dancing like crazy the entire time. I honestly can't imagine experiencing the same emotions at an international festival. Now, there are so many Russian speaking people living in Poland, which makes me believe we will definitely have more opportunities in the future to listen to our music and attend similar events. One of those festivals is actually happening again this June in Warsaw. My friend Olga, who works at the agency that organizes it, invited me to come, and I will be absolutely thrilled to attend it this year too. The next summer activity I want to do this year is to take a guided tour around Gdańsk. It's honestly crazy to admit, but I've been living in Gdańsk for more than 5 years now, and I've never joined a single guided tour. I always kept thinking, maybe tomorrow, maybe next month, maybe next season, or maybe when someone comes to visit. And somehow the perfect moment never came. But Gdańsk is such a fascinating historical city full of secrets, hidden corners, and meaningful places. I have a feeling that some of the buildings I walked past hundreds of times probably carry stories that could completely change the way I see them. I want to finally slow down, listen to those stories, and experience the city not as a resident, but also as a curious traveler. Because honestly, sometimes it feels a little ironic that some tourists know more about the history of the city than I do. So I think it's finally time to change that. I don't know what about you guys, but for me, any activity that combines sports and nature already feels like an adventure. For example, I've already tried stand up paddleboarding on the river in the old town of Gdańsk, and I absolutely love this activity because it wasn't too difficult for me. The main challenge was simply keeping balance, and luckily, I managed that quite easily. But at the same time, the city opened up from a completely different angle, and the whole experience felt really memorable and rewarding. But I still have never tried paddle boarding in the sea. To be honest, I consciously avoided it for a long time because it seemed a little boring to me. When you are floating through the city center, the scenery is constantly changing, so it feels more exciting. But in the sea, it all seems a bit repetitive. And I also imagine that it's more difficult because river water is usually still, while in the sea, you have waves. But anyway, at least once, I definitely want to give it a try and go paddle boarding in the Baltic Sea. I know that in Gdansk, they even organize special sunset paddleboarding groups, and honestly, that sounds pretty romantic. Another outdoor adventure that I find really fulfilling is kayaking. Last year, I tried it for the first time in my life, and it was absolutely delightful. The trip itself lasted around 5 or 6 hours, but again, it wasn't physically challenging because we were mostly going with the flow of the river. But at the same time, I felt completely connected to nature and finally able to switch my mind off properly. This year, I would love to repeat the experience, but maybe take a different route. Another activity that I would like to try this summer is outdoor yoga. I can't say I'm a huge yoga fan because usually I prefer something more energetic like Zumba or dance classes. But in Gdansk, there is this hipster area. It's an old factory full of graffiti, bars, and industrial buildings. And during summer weekends, they organize yoga classes there in the mornings. And honestly, I think that contrast is exactly what makes it fun. The place feels much more connected to parties, alcohol, and hookah rather than to peaceful yoga and meditation. And somehow that combination makes the whole experience even more unique. And the final thing I want to talk about with you today, guys, is camping. Personally, I wouldn't put camping on the list of the easiest activities because, in my opinion, it requires quite a lot of preparation. For example, you need to buy a tent if you do not already have one, buy or rent sleeping bags, and pack blankets, pillows to make sleeping a little more comfortable. Then there is food preparation, like marinating meat, buying snacks and drinks, and packing cooking equipment like a grill, skewers, plates, and cutlery. You also shouldn't forget all the bonfire essentials like matches, fire starters, and a lighter. And on top of that, things like flashlights, warm clothes, insect repellent, and a first aid kit. Honestly, I've only been camping twice in my life. The first time was in Belarus, the weekend after we got married. By the way, there is actually a whole episode about our unusual wedding. So if you haven't listened to it yet, you can definitely do it later. And the second time I went camping was here in Poland, about an hour and a half away from Gdańsk. And honestly, it turned into one of the craziest nights of my life. So let me tell you the story. One day, we decided to go camping. but we didn't know any special camping spots. So we simply decided to go to our favorite beach outside the city and stay in the forest nearby. We spent the whole day at the beach, no people around, white sand, calm water, and honestly, it looked like paradise. In the evening, we were supposed to move from the beach into the forest and set up our tent there. But somehow we suddenly thought, what if we stay right here on the beach? It will be romantic. We will watch the stars, fall asleep to the sound of the waves, and wake up with an amazing view. Well, we were so wrong. First of all, that night there was a full moon. And because of that, the waves were much, much stronger and way louder than usual. Second, because we were sleeping so close to the water, our pillows and blankets became wet, became damp really quickly. There were four people sleeping in one tent. So, on the one hand, it was boiling hot and there wasn't enough fresh air to breathe. But on the other hand, it also felt cold and humid at the same time. Third, we were attacked by mosquitoes. And I'm not talking about just a few mosquitoes. It was a whole swarm of aggressive and hungry monsters. And last but not least, because of the strong wind, we constantly had the feeling that some wild animal, maybe a bear or a wild boar, was outside the tent eating the food we had left there. That night, we didn't sleep at all. I was literally praying for morning to come as quickly as possible. But now, at least, I have a funny story to tell. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me today and for listening to this episode. And if this summer, in addition to having fun, you would also like to boost your speaking skills, I would love to invite you to join the summer speaking camp. Once a week, we will meet in small groups and discuss exciting and thought provoking topics. And to help you prepare for our speaking club discussion, I will send you additional materials in advance, such as videos, podcasts, articles, and useful vocabulary. With the help of the camp, you will get rid of the fear of speaking English with new people, start expressing your thoughts faster and more naturally, and feel much more confident communicating with foreigners in random and spontaneous situations. You can find more details about the camp on the website linked in the description of this episode. See you at the camp, guys, and I wish you the most adventurous, memorable, and restful summer. Bye bye.